Our brains are remarkable organs constantly processing information from our senses to make sense of the world. But sometimes our brains get tricked and what we see isn't always reality. This is the fascinating realm of optical illusions. Optical illusions are like playful puzzles for our brains, revealing the clever ways our visual system works. From distorted lines to shifting colors, illusions highlight the gap between perception and reality. These visual tricks demonstrate that our brains don't passively record the world like cameras. Instead, they actively interpret visual information, relying on assumptions and shortcuts to make quick judgments. These shortcuts are usually reliable, but illusions exploit them, leading to fascinating discrepancies between what we see and what exists. In this exploration of optical illusions, we'll delve into a few famous examples, unraveling the science behind their mind-bending effects. Get ready to have your perception challenged and your understanding of the brain enriched. One of the most classic optical illusions is the Müller-Lyer illusion, a simple yet powerful demonstration of how our brains can be fooled by lines. Imagine two horizontal lines of equal length. Now, add arrowheads to the ends of one line, pointing outwards, and arrowtails to the ends of the other line, pointing inwards. Surprisingly, the line with the outward-pointing arrowheads will appear longer than the line with the inward-pointing arrowtails, even though they are the same length. Why does this happen? Our brains seem to interpret the outward-pointing arrowheads as a cue for distance, as if we're looking at the corner of a building. Conversely, the inward-pointing arrowtails might be perceived as a closer object, like the inside corner of a room. This depth perception trickery leads our brains to perceive the line with the outward-pointing arrowheads as longer, even though it's not. Another intriguing illusion that plays with our depth perception is the Ponzo illusion. Imagine two converging lines like railroad tracks disappearing into the distance. Now place two horizontal lines of equal length across the tracks, one higher and one lower. Despite being the same length, the upper horizontal line will appear longer than the lower one. The converging lines create a strong sense of perspective, tricking our brains into interpreting the upper line as farther away. Objects farther away need to be larger to project the same retinal image as closer objects, so our brains compensate by perceiving the upper line as longer. The Ponzo illusion highlights how our brains use contextual information like converging lines to make judgments about size and distance. This illusion reminds us that our perception of the world is not a direct reflection of reality, but rather an interpretation shaped by our brains. Section 4, Color Conundrums, the Checker Shadow Illusion. Optical illusions aren't limited to lines and shapes, they can also involve color perception. The checker shadow illusion is a striking example of how our brains can be tricked into seeing different shades of gray where none exist. Imagine a checkerboard with alternating light and dark squares. Now, a shadow is cast across the checkerboard, darkening some squares more than others. Here's the illusion. Two squares, one in the shadow and one outside, that appear to be different shades of gray, are actually the same color. Our brains use the surrounding squares and the shadow as reference points, leading us to perceive the squares as different shades when they are not. This illusion demonstrates that our perception of color is not absolute but relative to its surroundings. Our brains constantly adjust for lighting and context, leading to fascinating discrepancies between the colors we perceive and the actual wavelengths of light entering our eyes. Section 5. Keep exploring. The world of illusions awaits. Optical illusions are more than just amusing diversions. They are windows into the complex workings of the human brain. By studying how our brains get tricked, we gain valuable insights into the processes of perception, attention, and consciousness. The illusions we've explored are just a glimpse into the vast and fascinating world of optical illusions. From impossible objects to motion after effects, countless illusions continue to captivate and challenge our understanding of vision. So, keep exploring, keep questioning, and never stop marveling at the wonders of the human brain. There's a whole universe of visual trickery waiting to be discovered.